Kyle Klein may be one of the best players out on tour right now. If you don't believe me, then maybe after this video you will. For those who have been paying attention this year, some crazy stuff just happened in Waco. The disc golf gods aligned and Kyle Klein's skills prevailed. But before we check out that amazing event, we're going to go back in time to look at all the best moments from Kyle Klein's career. He's had some ups and downs, but the highlights are pretty crazy. He's a part of the Crush Boys for a reason. This is the best moments of Kyle Klein. Here we go. Like for most of these videos, we start out with a nice little compilation of their best shots. Might be some amazing drives, some cool putts, or maybe a couple wild throws. Either way, these are the best shots that Kyle Klein has had in his career so far. Enjoy.
This looks great. Get in.
What?
Dead center. Are you
Talk
kidding
about
me?
it coming out hot. Kyle coming out slinging.
It makes you have to earn it. You're like, oh.
Should I have ran that?
Well, yeah, you should have always ran it. This kid's good.
Or a good chance to run the birdie. Kyle saves the par. It is a sweet hole.
I love it. I think everybody loves it. It's been just absolutely the superstar on social media as of late as well.
Kyle, he's a superstar. He's what?
I mean, that's the water.
Huge putt up the hill. Oh, wow. Okay.
To attack the green on their second shot.
Yeah, definitely one of those par fives that's very attackable. Either on the first or second shot, you can bite off a lot and try to go for the island, or at least try to give yourself like still a chance though. So we're gonna see Kyle Klein swinging out a hyzer here, trying to crash it in. That is way out there. Oh, what a skip!
Are you kidding me? He lands in the OB and skips onto the island.
2019 is when Kyle Klein really started to pop up on people's radar. Yes, he had joined the Discmania crew very early on, but he wasn't a big name yet, just playing a lot and winning a lot of the local events in Michigan where Klein is from. In 2019, the U.S. Amateur Disc Golf Championship would come to Milford, Michigan, where Klein would dominate and win by 6 shots. This was his first huge win, and after that is when he started to dip his toe into the open field. He would play some open events in 2019, but it wasn't until 2020 when he started to play Disc Golf Pro Tour events. He would play 11 DGPT tournaments alongside one major in 2020. His worst finish would be 48th place. Meanwhile, his best finish would come in at 4th place at the MVP Open. He was a new face on tour with some crazy skills and amazing putting. He showed that at MVP where he could play with some of the biggest names and not drop off. This may have been a great year for Kyle, but he had yet to capture that elusive tour title. 2020 we saw the rise of Klein. It was time for 2021 to be where he truly shined. It started at Deglow, home state, where he would battle with fellow teammate Eagle McMahon. As they went back and forth on the back nine, Eagle would have some up and down moments while Klein would just stay steady. The final few holes would be crazy. Hole 17 all tied up, Klein would throw a great upshot to have a good look at birdie. Eagle would throw this insane flex shot to then make an amazing putt for the birdie. Sadly, Klein's putt would chain out high left, and suddenly Eagle had a one-shot lead with 1 hole to play. 18, Klein's drive would end up closer than Eagle's on the par 3. So with all the pressure on the putt, Eagle would drop it in to win the title. Klein takes 2nd place, but with a good showing. Just a couple weeks later at Ledgestone, Klein would continue to play really well. Sadly, the final round would be canceled, but 5 holes through that final round, Klein was in the lead. He was having a really solid season so far, right there in contention. The same would go for the next event, Idlewild. Tied for 3rd going into the final round, something a little weird happened. Macbeth, who was in 1st with a 3-shot lead, would drop off. Instead, Klein and Andrew Marweed would pop into that battle for 1st place. As they went back and forth making birdie after birdie, they had to stay in 1st. Right behind them were 4 other players chasing them down. On hole 17, Marweed would have a 1-shot lead over Klein. Both players would go OB, but it would be Klein who was able to save the par. All tied up on hole 18, Marweed would have much better position off the tee. Looking at an easier upshot, probably going to make birdie. Klein needs to match the birdie with an insane shot through the trees.
Backhand turnover from Kyle. I like it.
Get through.
Get through it. Is it low enough? Oh my gosh. Oh, yes, it is. What a fantastic shot.
This kid is unbelievable.
After that, Marwood would in fact make the birdie. We head to a playoff. Klein would make an easy birdie on the first hole. Meanwhile, Marwood would have to make a pretty decent putt just to force another hole. Here, on the second playoff hole, Klein would throw probably the best shot of the tournament. After Marwood came up short on his approach shot on the par 4, Klein would have this shot to secure his first Disc Golf Pro Tour win.
By doing so, you can lose it.
Slow down. Oh my gosh, that is such control, such touch to be able to stop it.
Klein's 2021 season was not over yet. At USDGC, he would have the best round during the final day, shooting 10 under to catch the leader, Paul McBeth. McBeth would have some insane shots to keep pace with Klein, who was ahead of him. At the major title, Klein and McBeth would go into a playoff for the championship. Up first, Klein would push into a bush on the left side, just short of the basket. Unable to make the putt for birdie, but his competitor would. A playoff loss for Klein to finish his season, but still, battling with McBeth for a major title, he came so close. 2022 would be a slower season for Klein after what he did in 2021. He would not capture a Disc Golf Pro Tour win, but he would have some incredible stats for the year. Without a win, he would still finish in 9th place on the standings. His best finishes on the year would be a pair of 3rd places at Idlewild and the Preserve. But the really incredible feat was his worst finishes. In 22 events, that being Elite and Silver Series events for the Pro Tour and major titles. In those 22 events, his worst finish would be 27th place. That's incredible. No wins on the year, but he was just prepping to start out 2023 with a bang. At the first event of the year, Klein would really show up. He wouldn't win, but he would play well. 4th place at the Las Vegas Challenge, he was just prepping for the Waco Charity Open. Waco would turn out to be one of the most exciting tournaments I've ever watched. With the leaderboard so crowded at the top, whoever popped off was going to be champion. Adam Hammes gave it a run, especially with an ace during his round, which was pretty sweet. As Hammes was on the lead card holding it together, Kyle Klein was on the chase card, well, chasing him down. Waco, you need birdies, and that's exactly what Klein was doing. After a scorching start, being 5 under through 6 holes, Klein had to keep the tempo up. After a tap-in birdie on 8, Klein would face one of the hardest holes on the course. A beautiful drive and cheeky little forehand would put him in this position for a birdie putt.
Trying to go for too much. That could bring his non-par streak to a close.
He would be the only player at the top to capture a birdie on hole 9. Hole 10, he would continue his birdie streak with a solid putt. Hole 11, here's his drive on the tight par 3.
Kyle taking that straight shot at it.
The birdies would slow down for a couple holes for Kyle Klein, but he was just prepping for an incredible finish. On his heels and in the group behind him was still Hammes. Klein was in control of his fate though. If he could birdie the last 3 holes, he would push Hammes to have to match that to tie. Hole 16, Klein would execute the easy forehand upshot to secure the birdie. Hole 17 at Waco is tricky, especially with the wind. Klein's drive could literally not have been in any better of position. His approach shot, having to trust it out over the water, was incredible.
All right now, which is a bit surprising, but it does help these players out as Kyle trusting this disc out over the water.
12 under through 17 holes on his round, Klein had one more to grab. Hammes on hole 17 would short his approach shot. The best he could get to would be 30 under. If Klein could get one more, the Waco Charity Open would be his.
He's made his choice to go for it.
This is big and high. If it has the distance, it's great.
But it's got to check up, and it is.
It looks shorter than it is, and it plays.
2 Elite Pro Tour titles now for Kyle Klein. With being one of the most consistent finishers out on the tour, Klein is on the rise. He has the putting, both the forehand and the backhand. Very well rounded. When he is on, he's one of the best players right now. We saw it at Waco, and we're going to see it more from him in the future. Thanks for watching. Comment down below what your favorite moment from Kyle Klein's career is so far. Make sure to check out the channel. Plenty of other videos on there just like this. Alright, we'll see you guys next time. Cheers.